Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Interact podcast. My name is Josh Haynam. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Interact. Today, I'm joined by Chelsea Clarke, founder? Do you have
Founder,
co-founders?
yeah, the one.
Founder at Her Paper Route. And we just realized that we say route differently. But a lot to talk about today. Chelsea's a blogger, founder of many different companies, and there's going to be a ton of interesting things for us to chat about. We'll focus on quizzes, but we'll go beyond that. So thanks for being here, Chelsea. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me here, Josh. I'm excited.
Yeah, so let's start with quizzes and then we can branch out from there. But tell us about like one or two of your top quizzes that you've done over the years and how those have gone for you.
Absolutely. So I started using Interact, I would say in 2019, maybe even a little bit earlier. And I was using, and I still am, that first quiz that I built then is still active and running and generating leads today, which is
Nice.
pretty cool. I think good testament to the software that you built. That quiz is on my site, herpaperroute.com, and that walks visitors through a really easy, very quick on the front end side. It's very easy for them to go through it. It helps me decide, okay, does this person need help with building a blog? Do they need help with scaling a business? Or do they need help with selling their online business? And so by using this type of a quiz, I'm able to sort of capture those just casual visitors that come through my site. And on the back end, when they answer the questions, they're being segregated on my list or segmented on my list so that I know exactly what type of client they are so that I can help them in a specific way. So that's one way that I've using the quiz. And as I say, that one's been running for years. And I just kind of go in every now and then and add some new information or change the kind of lead funnel page that happens on the end of the quiz as new information becomes available on our side of the business. And then I have another quiz that I just started in the last year, and that is for my home decor business. It's an online home decor blog, and that is to help people figure out what their design style is, because sometimes styling your home can be really confusing if you don't know what your own, like what you like, what your style is. So that's what I use that second quiz for. And that's the one that, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it, but I've been testing with running ads to it and scaling that one, which has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like both of those use cases. The first one, like the segmenting out people, just it's so common where it's like I help with three different things. I have one
Yeah.
business, but there's three things that we do or four things that we do. I'm building one on our side right now where it's like we have four things that we do. Four main types of quizzes, whether it's like from Instagram or from search or from meta ads. And we can just easily say, here's the recommended way to do it based on that. So I like that use case a lot because it's so simple. And like you said, it can run forever. Tell us more about what that scaling one looks like, because that's also really interesting. Like, how do you utilize a quiz to scale something in terms of lead gen and list building?
Yeah. So quizzes are so great for building your list, selling offers when you have one ready. It's such a great way to have the user feel like they're really part of something. They're really going through your business. They're not just seeing an ad, clicking it, and then you're like, oh, I don't really want to do it. They actually get to participate in what it is that they just landed on. They actually get to have a say. And that's why I love personality quizzes like this, because they get to be like, okay, this is so me, this is not me. And when you get that sort of feedback from your client, with them internalizing that, maybe they're not saying that to you directly, but as they're going through the quiz, they really are interacting with your business and sort of pre-qualifying themselves if they're going to be the right type of customer for you, or the right type of community member if you have a free community too. So it doesn't have to be a direct sale. And what we've been doing with that is running Pinterest ads first. So we'll have a good landing page. And on the landing page, they'll be able to, the quiz is embedded on the page so they can figure out, hear what it is that it's going to be about. They take the quiz and there's a bit of information on the page, and we run promoted pins to that landing page. And I'm sure some people listening are going to be like, promote like Pinterest, why not Facebook? Why not Instagram? And though we do test with other platforms seasonally more, we always have a Pinterest ad running. And the reason for that is, in our experience, Pinterest has been a better rate per click than things like Meta platforms. You get more bang for your buck. And because on the creator side, especially in home decor, that's such a Pinterest niche that people who are on Pinterest, they're looking for ideas. They're interested in different styles and things like that. So it's been really helpful to get the right type of audience from Pinterest to lead into our quizzes, which then of course leads into our email list. And so that's how we've been doing it with Pinterest. And with the scaling aspect of it is when we ramp up sales, especially around uh, season like Christmas, holidays, back to school, special events like that. That's when we'll put more advertising budget into those promoted pins and drive more traffic to that quiz. When
That's
someone
really
signs
cool.
up to the quiz, then they're going to usually they'll land on a tripwire offer. So they get automatically, they go through the quiz. If it's something that they get for free, some sort of lead magnet at the end, they'll get that, but they'll also be taken to some sort of paid offer, usually a low cost offer, like under $50, where it's a fast action thing. If they take action, they get it for that discount. If not, that's okay. They still got that free thing. And that's really the style that we've been going for the last couple of years, and just kind of tweaking it and updating it now and then. But seasonality has been really great for this particular quiz for us.
So it's seasonality around like times when people are more likely to invest in interior design stuff. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because I think especially, I mean, Christmas season is such a great example of this, when people are
Mm.
actively looking for gifts. So if we have some gift guides that we're really pushing around that type of time of year, that's a great time to be ramping up our quizzes that are getting people into kind of our world about different styles, home decor, seasonal sales. So when people are on our list, they get invites to exclusive sales from retailers that we partnered with. So things that they, coupons and things like that that might not be public, they get that from our email list. So that's why we really focus on seasonality for that type of thing. But I also want to say to everyone listening, don't just focus on seasonal. Always have some evergreen content in your business as well, because you don't want to only make money one time a year and then stress out and be broke the rest of the year. That's not what we want. We love evergreen content too. That's my disclaimer.
Yeah, that would be stressful to have. I mean, like, I think about things like ski resorts and I'm like, oh my gosh, that must be very stressful. You can
Oh
only make
yeah.
money for 4 months out of the year or whatever it is. Can you don't have to share like too many details, but like in detail, what does the actual like ad look like? What kind of bid strategy are you doing there? You said, you mentioned the landing page where the quiz is embedded. That's awesome. Any specifics that you've noticed there that like changed the conversions or led to a higher or lower conversion rate where you didn't expect it?
Yeah, so what I've noticed is for any ads that I have text on it that specifically says it is a quiz, that's getting more clicks. So if we just have an image, like a really beautiful image, Pinterest is going to love that, and they will, they'll show it to a lot of people, and they might get a lot of impressions, but the clicks are just not going to be as high. I mean, text in general, you always want to have text on a great pin that's going to lead to something that you're offering. But being able to specifically have what looks like a button maybe that just says, free quiz or take the quiz, something like that, it's going to attract the right type of people, because there is a certain type of person that enjoys taking quizzes and a certain type of person who does not want to take a quiz. So if they can specifically see on the pin what their expectation is going to be, that's going to right away, you're going to get clicks from people who really actually will take your quiz and be interested in it. You're not going to waste clicks on someone who wouldn't end up taking it anyway. So, but I would say test both. Test having the word quiz on your pin, as well as test ones that maybe are a little bit more, less obvious, and just kind of see what your audience engages with. Because I can tell you how we do it, but it doesn't mean that it's going to work for everyone. It's like anything in business, you really have to test it for your audience, and see what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that's like, especially with, I think, performance marketing, it's always like, I can tell you the details of what worked for one company and the overlap to another company is probably like very low. So there's
Yeah.
not a lot that's going to be exactly the same across all of them. Okay, I have a question. You mentioned there's a type of person that likes quizzes and a type of person that doesn't. What's your impression of the type of people that like quizzes versus the type that don't? I'm curious.
You know what? I truly believe that the type of person who likes to take quizzes is an ideal person to buy your offers, to stay engaged in your community. Because someone who thinks that a 2-minute quiz is too much time and too much of an effort, they're probably not going to be your ideal client who's going to, enroll in your coaching program or stay engaged in a course that you have and actually finish it. And of course, not everyone will be the same, but we really do find that the people who can take 2 minutes to invest into their interest are the people who then could take 6 months to really invest in their interest to actually achieve the goals and the things that they want to do, the things that you help your community with. So that's a nice way that we've sort of been able to be like, okay, yes, investing money into promoted pins to our quiz pages is worth it for us rather than just a landing page. It's just one direct email sign up. The quiz is going to give us the right type of people. And for us, for people who are really into data too, when you're looking at the numbers and you're seeing, okay, who's signing up for this? Who's actually making it through to the end of the quiz and entering their email and then going on to the next step. And then once they're in the email, in the list, who's opening the emails? Who's clicking on what? Okay, we can see that they would be interested in selling their business down the road. Okay, so we know the right type of content that we need to speak to those people to get their site primed for evaluation in order to then go sell on our platform at Niche Investor. So it's like so many different steps. And without having that quiz, we wouldn't know that necessarily. We might just be speaking to the void, speaking to everyone with offers that might not be right for everyone. And that's really what's been really great for us too, to be able to know the exact person who needs the right type of information.
Yeah. Are you pulling that out of the Interact analytics on the back end, like looking at the question data and things like that?
Yes. Yeah. So we'll look at our Interact dashboard for that. And then we use ConvertKit as our email service provider. So we'll look at the data there too to see anytime someone clicks on something, they're being tagged so we can see sort of what their interests are that way too.
That's really cool. Yeah. I think that data is so undervalued by a lot of folks, where it's just like you can see, everybody wants this thing versus that thing, and then it's like, oh, 90% of my audience prefers one thing, maybe I should just focus on that
Totally.
rather than you're gonna waste your money going after the 10%. This is really cool. I think I wanted to extrapolate out a little bit, because we were chatting a little bit before we hit record about the different businesses that you run and the different businesses that you've started. And I'm hearing you talk about your quiz strategy, and I'm like, it's very dialed in. It's very like thoughtful. It's very thought out. That doesn't happen by accident. So tell us a little bit about kind of your story of building different businesses, maybe some of the things that you've learned that have helped you to be able to dial in something like a quiz campaign in this way, where it's like very thought out. It's very regimented, like all the pieces. Like, what are some of the key moments of learning in your journey where it's like, oh, you have to really focus on this thing to make your marketing campaigns work?
Definitely. Okay, so you might have to like jog my memory. That was a big question. I might not remember everything you asked, but I started her Paper Route as a media company, and for the first couple years there, I didn't have a quiz, and I was just making lead magnets and having everyone come into the list, but I didn't have that really fine-tuned segmentation for the first little bit. And not that that was a mistake, but we would have gotten farther ahead if we had in the beginning. So what I did is I started it just as a blog and a podcast, and I would be writing articles about my journey of building and selling websites because my background was at a business brokerage and in marketing. So when I quit the workforce to blog full time, that's what I was blogging about. I had that site, and then I had niche sites that I was working on, generating traffic, revenue to, and then selling. And the audience that was starting to build around her paper really took an interest in that side of the business. So a year or two in, I launched the platform called Niche Investor, or at the time it was called Blogs for Sale, where our audience could have a safe place to list their website for sale and buy other websites. So we could handle the vetting, the escrow, the listing management, all of that for people, because it can be rather confusing. If you don't know, if you're a seller and you're trying to sell your website, your blog, and you don't know what you don't know. So you really need a listing agent, someone that has your back. We've seen it all. We write the contracts. We do all of that step by step, hand holding through the sale process, because we know that there unfortunately are some buyers out there that if they see you don't have representation, they'll try to take advantage of that and not just lowball you, but kind of weed things into the contract that wouldn't be the best for you. So that's the service that we offer there. And what I did, the quiz with Interact was really, really helpful for was when I started going to conferences, I would bring my my little iPad mini, and we would have a booth or just walk around and talk to people, and I would gauge their interest and if they have a website and if they have interest in selling it one day. And right there, standing face to face, I'd be like, hey, want to do a little quiz with me? And I'd pull up my Interact quiz about doing an in the moment valuation. They could answer a couple questions and it gives them a preliminary selling price suggestion. And so that was really helpful too. And then after the conference, we're like, okay, that should be a landing page. We should get that worked out. And we ran that for a little bit. But then what we realized was doing it that, like valuations virtually that way, there does have to be another step where then the listing agents will look at the P&L and do more of a deep dive into it. So we kind of combine that now. So on the site, you can go and fill out your site information and get a suggested listing price, and a listing agent will walk you through the process. So the quiz was really helpful in getting that system set up. So that's how I started. That's what I'm doing now. And as I mentioned about that home decor blog, that's one of my niche sites that we are running. And yeah, I say we, but it really is only me and a virtual assistant with the list on the listing side. And that's what I like. So before we started recording, Josh and I were talking about success and what that is for different people. And I was saying, if you want to be on stages and you want to be on the cover of Forbes and you want to be seen as a thought leader, that's awesome, that's amazing, but that's really not the only form of success, I think, because the way that I look at success is, okay, I get to blog for a living. How fun is that? I get to stay home, raise my kid. I get to hang out with my animals. I don't have to be anywhere, no deadlines. That to me is my kind of success, and that's going to look different for everyone. So I think anyone listening being like, oh, I'm making a little bit of money, but I don't really feel like I'm successful because no one knows my name. I don't have a book publishing deal or anything like that. It's like, if that's a goal, go for it, go do it. But if that's not a goal, why are you worried about that? Like, why are you basing your success on something that you don't even really want to do?
Yeah, that is sage advice. I think I've seen way too many people fail over the years. I'm sure you have too, where they chase after goals that they don't actually want.
Yeah.
And then they shoot too high and end up crashing. And it's like, you could have just found a lane that worked for you and you'd be happy there. But you're always chasing, trying to keep up with the Joneses, and you end up getting nothing out of it, which is a real bummer. So I hear you on that. I think that's really good advice for anybody that's listening, that's on the come up, or they're you're growing a business and you feel like you're enjoying certain aspects of it, but it's not enough. It needs to be more, it needs to be this, it needs to be that. So I think it's all really important. Something that I picked up on as you were talking about the her paper route site going into the buying and selling site, what I think I heard in there was like, you have a content site, and I looked at it a little bit. The topics kind of attract an audience that may have a site to sell, may be interested in buying a site, but the topics are more like generally applicable, like more interesting to a broad group of people. And then you kind of have this funnel down into the actual like marketplace. And
Exactly.
that's super interesting to me, because at least in content-based businesses, that seems to be like kind of what you have to do. Like, you have to have a certain set of topics that reaches a lot of people, and then it filters down into like a much smaller number of people that will actually purchase the product or like be the paying customers. Is that I'm assuming that's a model that you've built on purpose, or like what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, 100%. So our model, our company is content first, education, entertainment, just providing value for a wider net of people. So people who are interested in content marketing, or maybe they want to leave their job and they want to create a side hustle or just build something of their own. That's the overarching thing that we do. And then of those people, and that's all free content too. We don't charge for the education side of it, the entertainment side. All of that content is just to help people get moving forward. And then of that group, there's going to be a few people who want the next step. So when people listening here, as you're thinking about sort of your ladder in your business, the type of content that you offer for different audience members at different stages of their progress, you want to have the things that's going to appeal to a lot more people. But then you're also going to want to have some things that are really just for a specific group, and really knowing who that is going to help you, one, find them in your group, and two, it's going to let those people know that you're the right person for them, because that you'll be able to speak their type of language. You'll be able to, say the buzzwords that they like to hear, or the way that they engage in their communities. If you are part of their community, they'll be a part of yours. And that's always how we've looked at building the model around our business. And as it kind of trickles down into those select few who are interested in selling their business or buying a business, then we have different resources for them. We also have a sort of like a paid membership too, where people can learn how to really monetize and grow sites for the purpose of selling, which is really fun.
Okay, so something that you said in there about the way that you've built your business stood out to me. And it sounded like you create content that appeals to like a pretty broad audience. And then that filters down into the buying and selling site, like the marketplace. I'm assuming that's intentional, but tell us about like that model and how that's worked for you.
Yes, definitely. So that's always been the model that I've always looked at when building any of our sort of tiers of our business: is content first, value first, education, entertainment. And that can suit a lot of people, a wider net of people. And all of that type of content is free. You can go, you can read blog posts, listen to podcasts, YouTube videos, anything like that. And that's just helping a lot more people get ahead, get started, start a side hustle. Maybe they want to leave their business, or sort of they want to leave their job and start a business. It's sort of those foundational building blocks of, okay, well, what do we do now? And of those people who are going to be going and checking out all of that information, there's going to be a select few who are going to self identify as, hey, yeah, I do want to sell my business one day. I do want to start a blog with the purpose of selling it. And these are the step-by-step process things that we can do. And that will help people see, okay, well, here's the marketplace. You can just go right away and get a valuation. Or here's some courses where you can actually learn to increase the revenue and the traffic to your site so that you can increase its value and sell it for a higher profit down the line. So people who are listening and they're thinking about the different type of tiers and the ladder that they offer in their business, there's going to be different people that are going to be right for different parts of your, like, what you offer as a company. So you got to have different types of content, the wider range content that's going to sort of lead people in and help more people. And then you can funnel that down into the more specific type of training. Maybe you have a paid membership, or like maybe a private podcast feed. There's so many different ways to monetize a smaller portion of your audience and of your list.
Yeah, that's really cool. I I have to ask you this question. I'd be remiss if I didn't, because there's been so many things changing with search and discoverability and just all the different platforms. Like, what has been working in recent memory, like let's just say 2025, and which things are like on the decline that you're seeing in terms of like organic reach and discoverability for content.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you asked that, because at the end of 2023, as many business owners and content creators will unfortunately remember, Google made some algorithm changes that just sites rankings dropped from search results, and it really decimated a lot of online businesses. I was very, very, very thankful that I had my list, that I had my quizzes, that I had Pinterest, because I was able to ride that wave. And it was okay because we had that diversification. But I think that it's so important to always diversify your traffic. As we've seen, even Pinterest, they could change their algorithm at some point too. And then I'll be like, oops, so you definitely have to have different things running. That's why having a quiz is such a great, great, great resource in anyone's business. I highly recommend it. But what's really been working now, in addition to that, is by continuing to utilize Pinterest organically. So yes, we have the Pinterest ads, but I'm pinning every single morning. I get up at 5 a.m. and I'm creating pins, and I'm pinning, and I'm searching Pinterest trends, and I'm finding keywords, and I'm doing all of that nerdy stuff that takes a little bit of time because it pays off down the road. So when you have something that is showing up in Pinterest search results today, that could be showing up in those results years from now still. And you can't have something like that work for you with such longevity on something like Instagram, certainly not Twitter, where you tweet something and then nobody sees it, the next day. Sometimes it goes by so quickly. And I think that Google traffic is coming back for a lot of creators. So the ones that didn't give up, the ones that stuck it out and, kept on creating and posting new content, we are seeing traffic. So when I log into the dashboard at Niche Investor, I can see the traffic trends of all of our clients. And when I look back historically, I see, oh, okay, we had some drop. And when I'm looking in their previous history, and I'm seeing personally that many sites are on the uptick now, but it's slow from Google. So those sites that really are surviving and thriving are the ones that have been utilizing their email list and Pinterest or other social platforms. And it's going to be different for different niches. But in our own niche, as I say, Pinterest has been really, really good for that, because, who knows what's going to happen next. 2025, we're only, we're not even halfway through yet. And we're always scared because, well, not scared, but we're always aware that things could change at any time. So being able to pivot, that's going to be your best asset as a business owner.
Yeah, and I think something that you said in there jumped out at me, which was you're up at 5 a.m., you're putting pins out, you're studying what's working and what's not, which builds your intuition. So then if you do need to go to a new platform, or you need to try to reboot on one that has declined reach, it's not just like you're guessing. It's like, well, I've seen what works, and human behavior doesn't change very quickly, even if an algorithm changes very quickly. And so your ability to pivot, like you said, at least from my view, is like very contingent on whether or not you are on there every day studying. Like, it's kind of like school, right? It's like you're studying Pinterest, or you're studying what's ranking in search, or you're studying what's working on Instagram. You're studying, and that allows you to then make those pivots when things do inevitably change. But also, yeah, having an email list, having people that you can access, whether or not the algorithm is giving you access to them, your business is gone if you don't have that.
Very well said. So true, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I think that the other thing that jumped out at me as you were saying that, because I can resonate with a lot of that. I mean, we've been through multiple downturns in our time with Google, with other platforms. And it's like, you just have to stay consistent, like just continue practicing, even if it's slower than normal. I feel like so many people just give up when it gets slower, because it's like, oh, well, it's worse than it was before, so I don't want to do it anymore. And it's like, well, it always comes back. And if you stick through the slow part, then you'll be rewarded for it. And so,
oh, absolutely. And the only difference between people who have been in business for 10 years and someone who is no longer in business is the other person just didn't give up when it got sucky. They just, they just rode the waves, just weathered the storm, and just didn't give up, because they understood that it's not always going to be perfect and profitable. There's going to be times that are not going to be so fun. So, having an emergency fund, having some savings that you can lean on if you need to, things like that, it's always a great thing to consider for planning ahead. And thinking about too, putting yourself into a faux emergency right now and thinking, what would I have to do if I had to like implement an emergency plan for my business. If it all, fell apart today, what would I do to either rebuild or just reroute? See, instead of reroute, I said reroute.
Nice.
American today. But yeah, like thinking about, okay, and this is something you can create in your company. You can just have a Google Doc where you write out, this is what we'd have to do. This is currently what we're depending on. And if this changes, we would probably have to do this. And as you're doing that, you're going to find, hey, you know what? We could actually start doing some of this now. And this may lead into a new traffic source or a new idea for an offer that we could create in our business. And those ideas will come up as you're going through the what ifs, the worst case scenario. So think positive, but be able to have a plan in case things don't go your way.
Yeah, that's cool advice because I think when things are down is when what you need to do becomes exactly clear. And when things are up, it's actually kind of hard to tell like what you need to focus on because it just feels like everything's working and maybe I should do all the things, but
Yeah.
when it all drops, then it becomes abundantly clear like, oh, this is what we need to do next. So simulating that is a nice way to get that kind of clarity without having to have it actually drop. And I think if you're listening and you haven't been through one of these down cycles yet, like just know that that's where you're going to get your most valuable learning about how to grow your business. At least in my experience. I don't do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that. You learn more from your failures than from your successes for sure.
Yeah. And like yeah, you can simulate it, and then I think when it actually happens, that's when like that rapid fire learning, ends up happening, and it's tough. It's like it's never fun when it's like, oh, it was performing at this level, and now it's down by 50%. No one likes that, I don't think,
Yeah,
but it is where you learn all the stuff. So it's
so true.
important. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing all this with us. I think this is super valuable for anybody that's like trying to build a business or already has stuff established and is trying to grow. Where can people go to check out different sites that you have right now that you're promoting or follow along with your personal journey?
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you again so much for having me. This has been so much fun having this conversation with you. I love it. You guys, you can find me at herpaperroute.com. That's where all of my social links and everything are too. If you want to chat, send me a message. I would love to, I love hearing about what people are working on, especially in the creator economy. I'm always excited about that. And also very interested in AI development too. So feel free to send me a message if you have some cool project on the go.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Chelsea. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much.